Welcome back to another issue of Hops Geek News, a podcast where we talk about comics and news and beer and pretty much anything pop culture, essentially. I am one of your two hosts, Mash, and I am here with Hoppy Mommy. What it does.
It does not much yet. It's still very early. Well, I know it's earlier for you. It's almost 11 in the morning over here on the East Coast.
Yeah, we're recording in the morning first thing because I plan on doing nothing but watching football all day. The Packers, I got a hot date with them at 11 o'clock this morning, and I had to do some homework. So we're recording first thing in the morning, but it's never too early for beer, in which I have a fresh patch from Wormtown Brewing in Worcester, Mass.
Oh.
It's a good pumpkin ale. It comes in at just a nice little 4.5%, which is pretty light, especially if you're drinking at 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday. But they do really good stuff at Wormtown. They have like a bee hoppy and other things, and I had this
Oh,
sent
I
to
think
me
I've
for my
seen that.
birthday. Yeah, so they do a lot of good beers, and I figured it was a good one because I picked all my pumpkins yesterday, and we had about 7 that we grew this year, our first year growing pumpkins. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
That's pretty cool. We tried to grow pumpkins one time and the vine like took off in the backyard and then it just died overnight. I
Yeah,
don't know what
they're
happened,
really
but
finicky. Like it got cold and now the vines died right away. And I was like, okay, guess it's just time to go out and pick them. They're still somewhat green, but because we planted them a little late, but they'll orange out. I'm not worried about it.
we never even got actual pumpkins. But I was brewing beer at the time, so I'm like, I'm gonna make pumpkin beer in the fall. I don't even think pumpkins can grow in Florida. I don't know. It was a fun project. We tried.
I'm making anything and everything, damn it. And we tried. We did watermelons when I lived in Florida. We actually grew pretty good amount of watermelons, and then we were renting at the time, so our landlord said, no, you can't have watermelons. And so we tried pineapples and avocados, none of which actually worked out. So pumpkins finally worked for once. Maybe I'm starting to get a hang of this farm life. I don't know.
Yeah, I kill everything, but my hop plant has taken off and I
Oh,
accidentally have grown a mango plant. So that's kind of cool. We
ooh.
were just composting and something popped up. So, but I am not on beer yet. I am finishing up my fall harvest Starbucks blend, but I have a coffee blonde on deck.
Ooh, yeah, I had some coffee first thing this morning. I'm still my sister I found out works at Dunkin' Donuts, so I'm gonna have to hit her up for some more of that pumpkin sauce.
Oh,
That's my
jeez.
hookup. She's pretty much like every, stereotype of a New England female at the age of 18 who works at a Dunkin' Donuts. Like it's pretty bad, but you know what? Whatever. Still love her anyways.
Uh, you guys love your Dunkin'. All right. So, should we talk
Yes.
about our news segment? We need a clever name. I haven't come up with
I
a clever name. Maybe
haven't
somebody can
either.
help.
I'm bad at names, so yeah, somebody,
Be
if you're
like,
going to listen to this is where we fix all of our mistakes from the previous week.
basically we're not experts segment. I thought about calling it my bad, but I don't know.
That
So
might be a good one.
yeah. Last week we discussed the Modoc upcoming show and Zola was mentioned. So they are one and the same. Clearly neither of us have read those comics. So Zola becomes Modoc, a true robotic killing interface machine. In the MCU, Zola was the Red Skull's main guy that Tommy Lee Jones ate a steak in front of. And we get a glimpse of him as Modoc in Winter Soldier when he's on that screen and Cap and Black Widow are like talking to him. So that's why they
Hold
had
on,
his
hold
face
on,
all
hold
the
on.
way up in the
Tommy Lee
screen.
Jones?
Isn't that Tommy Lee Jones? Or
No,
am I
that's not
getting the
Tommy
name
Lee
wrong?
Jones. That is oh my god, I've blanked out on his name.
He's
That's
in
not
Men in Black.
No, that in you're talking about Captain America plays Red Skull?
Yeah.
That's not Tommy Lee
No.
Jones. What?
No, not the guy who plays Red Skull. The guy that eats the steak in front of Zola. He's on our side. The one that says he won't kiss Cap.
Oh, you're totally right now. Oh my God. Yeah. See, look at that. That's why we have a whole segment called My Bad because I heard Red Skull and Tommy Lee Jones and I was like, wait a second, what? And I
No,
completely
remember the
forgot.
scene where he offers him the food
Yes.
and then he's eating the food. He's like, it was hard to get the steak out
Yes.
here.
Now I
So yeah.
remember. There we go. Yes. We're back on track. Anyways.
All right. So that's why they had Zola's face so close in that shot. It was a nod to the comics. In my Nightmare rant, I mentioned that Disney never did anything with Nightmare until a few years ago. Well, this past weekend, I was watching a show called Yesterworld. It's basically all the things that are no longer at Disney or that they were going to do that they never did.
Mhm.
And they briefly had a display of Nightmare stuff at MGM, which is now Hollywood Studios. So they would change it out for new movies, but I thought that was really cool. They had it there around the same time Ninja Turtles was at Disney.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I didn't even realize Ninja Turtles was at Disney.
I had forgotten to, and then my dad was like pulling up old Disney pictures. I'm like, "Is this Universal?" He's like, "No, it's MGM." I was like, "Oh yeah."
Well, huh.
But That's it. Yeah, if you catch any mistakes, slide into those DMs, call us out, we'll fix it, and then we'll credit you with a virtual cheers.
Yeah, we'll make sure to let you know because we are not experts, anyways. We are just a couple of geeks,
No.
nerds who enjoy drinking beer and talking about this kind of stuff, and it's kind of an outlet for us. So, by all means, please slide into the DMs, hit us up, and let us know. Um,
Yeah.
However, what kind of things have you watched or read this week? I didn't really do much reading. I'm waiting for the final Batman 3 Jokers, which is going to come out the day this airs, actually, on Wednesday. And so I'm kind of waiting on that. I just haven't had a chance. I had a lot going on this
Right.
week, it feels like. So have you read anything good, or I've just been watching horror
Um,
movies?
well, Winter Soldier and not Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier came back in the comic. They had taken a hiatus after March for COVID, so they're finally back. It's going to be a short run. I think there's only one left, so total I think it's five or six. But it's kind of like a teaser for the show a little bit. It's got Zemo in it. It's pretty funny though. I highly recommend it if you just want like a little teaser before the show and a quick read. That's not too much of a commitment.
Hmm.
But it's you see like the dynamic between the two characters. And there's a murdering teenage fan, and there's a huge a couple that's like super Captain America fans, and they kind of make fun of it, and they kind of have fun with it, and it's really fun. And Hydra's involved as well, so I
Ooh,
don't know how much of the show will be connected to the comic, but it's a quick, fun read. So I recommend it. It's just Falcon and Winter Soldier. But I
yeah.
mean, they had took like a 6 month hiatus.
I know,
So
like
that's
everything's
finally
shut
back.
down comic wise, so it's kind of nice that it's funny that you would think that comics would be the one thing that would be able to still do production. Well, I guess not because you got to mass produce everything. Like the illustrators and the writers can keep working, but then again, how would they be able to if all the factories and kind of stuff are shut down? So it makes
Well, and
sense.
at first they just shut down everything. But
Yeah.
I also picked up Robert Kirkman has another one, which I mean, obviously I love him. I read quite a few of his called Firepower. So I only read the free comic book day one, and I was intrigued. I'm not sure if I'm going to commit yet, but it was pretty good. If your comic book shop still has the free comic book days, it's a great way to dip your toes into a new comic. And Walking Dead is re-releasing all their issues in color. I did get the first one. I'm not going to buy all of them again, but it was, I guess there were some times that they wanted to do it in color, but they never did it in color because of the gore factor. They didn't want you to be overwhelmed by the gore, but now I guess they're going ahead and doing it. My comic book guy looked a little surprised that I didn't want to commit to the to subscribing to the whole thing again, but I had the first one. And I actually caught up on season 10, and I'll actually talk more about that into breaking news because there's a whole Walking Dead universe now. But so that's pretty much all I've read. I haven't read too much. The comics are always quick
Yeah.
reads,
They are.
but
It
that's
takes
about
two
it.
seconds to read comics. I did see that. I keep seeing commercials for Fear the Walking Dead and all that, and I noticed that a familiar face keeps popping up in those commercials, and it's the her Ashley from The Boys. Um,
Oh yeah, I
she's
noticed
in
that
Fear the
too.
Walking Dead. I don't watch Fear the Walking Dead. I don't watch The Walking Dead. I kind of they all became trash to me after I watched the first half of season one of Fear the Walking Dead. That was it. And then
Hmm.
The Walking Dead, I stopped watching a long time ago just because it got kind of stupid, in my opinion. But
Yes, season one of Fear wasn't good. It did get better. I'm not up to date on Fear, but there's a whole bunch more that I'll go into in a few minutes. But and then I watched some horror movies, which we'll talk about that weren't the
yes,
best. But and I think that's all you watched this week is horror
that's
movies. I'm
so
guessing.
yeah. The month of October, I refuse. I mean, we watched. Carrie. She likes to watch The Nanny, so we'll watch The Nanny here and there, and I'll play some video games or whatnot. But predominantly, October for me is just horror movies that I'll watch once a year. And so that's it's just like Christmas movies. You watch them a couple times. That's kind of my thing. So I love horror movies. So that's all I've been doing. Like I said, I haven't read anything. I'll probably get back into reading probably next week, but I've had a lot of things going on. Um, Going into the news, however, I talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier and how the comic book, well, they actually just wrapped filming for the TV show. So
Good.
I wonder if that means we are going to be getting they were supposed to release already, but there's, I think because they're planning on Scarlet or WandaVision releasing in 2020, we'll get maybe Falcon Winter Soldier in the spring. Then I'm not really sure how
Right.
that's
Yeah, they
gonna
still don't
play
have
out.
release dates for any of this.
No, they finally finished filming, so that's a good thing. And Anthony Mackie
Yeah,
was pretty
absolutely.
much talking about how he hated filming during COVID because there'd be like a little. Czech Republic man whose sole job was like, if you get within 6 feet of each other, he comes up and like pokes you with a stick and all this other kind of stuff. And I think it was all tongue in cheek, but it's still pretty funny. He's like, yeah, this sucks. Kind of, you got some dude whose sole job is just to go up and poke you with a stick and get you away from each other. And it's like, I feel like you're going to need to be within 6 feet of each other while filming a lot of these things, especially fight scenes and everything like that. So as long
Oh
as you're getting
yeah.
tested like an athlete, then who really cares? But um,
Yeah.
allegedly, we are going to be getting some old Marvel characters. I'm not really sure who. They haven't mentioned who, but expect to see some throwbacks, callbacks. I'm hoping that we get like Justin Hammer and things like that to kind of show up because they teased AIM with Justin Hammer back in
Right.
Iron Man. So maybe we'll get some of them.
He was such a tool.
He was, but I loved it. He was still such a good character. I
Yeah.
that I want more of him. He's such an idiot. So maybe we'll get some of them, and then, of course, the set photos. You have Zemo. He's maybe teaming up. They did have toys release, and spoiler alert for anybody who's lived in a hole. Um, Apparently, in one of the toys, you have Falcon, and then there's Captain America, but it's not Steve Rogers. It's whomever. I think Thunderbolt Ross is gonna try to make his new Avengers under the Accords, and so he gets
Oh.
somebody who's his own Captain America who kind of takes that mantle. But if you know anything about Thunderbolt Ross, he kind of creates like the bad guys, like everybody who goes into the little holding cell. I can't remember the name of it now. Off in the middle of the ocean, he gets like Abomination, all them. They kind of create like Thunderbolts or whatever the hell they're called. I can't think now.
Right. Well,
So
that
I
was talk. Wasn't there talk of Abomination coming back? Because
yeah,
we haven't seen him since Hulk.
no, and I thought finally that was first of all that Hulk movie was actually good, and so it was nice to see Hulk go toe to toe with somebody who's like on his level. And
The
there's been
Raft.
talks. Yes, the raft. That's what it is. Well, there's always been talk of, hey, they're gonna Thunderbolt Ross is gonna get his crew back together, or like get the the anti Avengers, whatever you want to call them, the Thunderbolts, and kind of that was gonna set up to be a villain, but that kind of died away. So I'm curious if that's kind of where their Phase 4 TV shows are gonna go into, is these guys, especially with
Now I
She
just
Hulk
have
coming.
oh yeah. Now I have Queen stuck in my head. Thunderbolts and lightning, very very frightening. That should be their theme song if it happens.
Or like the trailer, since everybody's obsessed with like
Yeah, there you go.
80s rock bands and their trailers.
That's perfect. Marvel, if you're listening.
Yeah. Hey, $1 million idea for the price of free if somebody happens to actually be listening from Marvel.
Right.
Um, I'm not too sure. Are you excited for Shang-Chi at all? I'm
I mean,
vaguely familiar with the character.
I'm not familiar with the character at all, other than what I've researched for this podcast. I mean, I'm excited in the regards of it's an MCU show, and the only one they've truly fucked up is in Humans.
True.
So I mean, I'm excited, but I'm not
Well,
like I'm obviously way more excited for all the other ones.
same. Well, good news. Shang-Chi is wrapped filming as well. I knew that the actor, he from following him on Twitter and things like that, he's been really excited and into the role and has really seems to have some good personality. So I'm again not familiar with Shang-Chi whatsoever. However, if the movie's any good, I will dive headfirst into it.
Hmm.
So yeah, they wrapped filming there. So it seems that movies are filming again. We just have no idea when we're actually going to ever get
Right.
movies
Because they're probably
because
playing catch up.
right. Well, I mean, Wonder Woman, they already said is never going to go into streaming. They're like, no, this is going to go into theaters. But Wonder Woman finished filming in 2018. So if it comes out next year, then that's three
Jeez.
years since that movie's been wrapped filming, which is kind of
Wow.
ridiculous. So
Yeah.
at
And
some
they can't move
point,
forward.
no, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, DC has all these grand plans and all these things that they're coming out with. Like Shazam 2 is going to start filming in 2021. So I think March, they said. But you have movies like Black Widow and Wonder Woman who have been done being filmed, supposed to have released. Like Wonder Woman should have released a year ago, just about. And then they were like, no, June 2020. And then it keeps getting pushed back. And now Patty Jenkins is like, it's never going to go to streaming. This is going to go to theaters. And it's like, at what point do you just, hey, this is one of those things where movie theaters are not going to be open and no one's going to go to them anytime soon. Just
Right. They're going to be
release
one of
it.
the last things to open because people
Right.
are so close together. Yeah. Maybe they'll put plexiglass in between every single chair.
That, or I mean, that's going to be a bitch and a half to probably clean for movie theater workers. So maybe give them a raise. But Nobody's
Just
really
dump
gonna
bleach
go.
on the whole theater in
Yeah,
between.
it's just like the sprinkler system sprays bleach all over everything.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
you
I don't
see at
know.
Disney now, they have like in the lines where they couldn't separate the lines to space
Hmm.
them out, they have huge plexiglass between lines and on rides. They'll
Oh,
have,
really?
not every single chair, but like on Star Tours or on Soarin', where you have like people in a line, like they'll have like four seats and then plexiglass and then four so they can fit more people on each ride. And I don't see them ever taking that stuff down. So once we're past this COVID thing, at least maybe people will get sick less in
Yeah.
general.
I mean, maybe, yeah, that's true. I think there are some good things that are coming from this whole COVID thing because maybe we're gonna start being more cleaner as a whole population, perhaps, or
People learned how to wash their hands. It's
yeah,
been
people learn to
amazing.
wash their hands or look at that. We have a mass production of hand sanitizer from everywhere and anywhere. Just keep it on you, I guess. But
Right. All
um,
right. So what else you got?
we got so I know you've never probably played these video games, but Tom Holland was cast as Nathan Drake in Uncharted, which is I've never really played the video games. They're kind of like Indiana Jones is the way I kind of took it as. Um, However, they just finished filming, so it is confirmed that Spider-Man is going to start filming in Atlanta next or possibly next week, but definitely beginning in November. They're looking at to start filming, and of course, nobody's confirmed Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back, but all signs point to possibly them coming in. And we already know we have Jamie Foxx's Electro coming back, so that's going to be filming soon. So we might have a Spider-Man movie that's ready to go as soon as we can go to theaters again. I expect more news coming from that. Tom Holland posted a picture on his Instagram being like, "Hi, I'm Nathan" or whatever, and now he's going to be going to Atlanta because Georgia has no rules either. So that's exciting. At
Yeah.
least we have Spider-Man starting to film, and I think we'll by end of this year, once they do start filming, we'll probably have a good idea of who's in it and who's not because nothing stays secret forever, especially in this world.
No. No, but it's interesting that they're doing a whole like Spider Verse into the MCU. That's very.
I like it, but I
I don't know.
don't like it though.
I guess I'm confused as to how they'll do it, but it's not the first time I've thought, well, how are they going to pull that off? And then they pulled it off. So
Right. I just don't like it because I feel like we haven't seen Spider-Man become Spider-Man in New York City yet. The comics, everything you know about Spider-Man is, he's just an average kid, just with
well, and
superpowers.
then
And
you have J.K. Simmons though is in two universes. So how are they gonna?
yeah, well, J.K.
I don't know.
Simmons won't be. I don't think he's going to be back as Jim Gordon anytime soon. And then also they announced that his take on Jameson is going to be completely different, nothing to do with the first iteration that he did. So he's going to be basically like a blog writer, is the way I've taken it for, something that's like QAnon, one of those conspiracy theorist
Mhm.
sites. And then he's going to eventually work his way up or something like that. And so I would like to see that and him start working at the Bugle and just all those minor interactions that are pretty stupid, maybe in comic books or people don't necessarily think about, but it's Spider-Man.
Right.
So it'd be nice that he stands on his own and you actually see him as that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and he's not constantly leaving Earth or what have you.
Right. No,
Aside
I
from
loved him in Spider Man. He looks like the comic book character. He's just perfect.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I love. So I feel like he would play it perfectly. So I really want to get some of that. And then hopefully they can get some, Osborn in and kind of going from there. And this isn't the last time we see Tom Holland as Spider-Man, even though Sony and Marvel can't get their shit together. So we'll see. However, how did you ever see Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
That's Academy Award winning Suicide Squad to all of
Yeah.
us. What did you think about the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker? I know that there's a lot cut out. David Ayer has said that,
Yeah.
hey, they butchered my cut, all this, and there's like a release the air cut kind of deal because everybody has a secret cut of a movie because this is where we're at now. Well, I thought there was promise there. I don't care for Jared Leto at all as a human being, um,
Yeah.
but
He was. I don't know. I don't
he's
really know
weird.
anything that I loved him in.
Yeah, well,
Um.
he's a good actor, but he definitely did some weird shit on the Suicide Squad, like sending people dead
Oh
pigs,
yeah.
dead
Yeah.
rats, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I'm just like, ugh, that he's just weird. But in Zack Snyder's Justice League, Jared Leto's Joker's coming back. They're filming new scenes with him, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot. All them are kind of filming some new scenes, and so apparently his Joker's going to make an appearance,
Hmm.
along with Deathstroke. So we're getting Deathstroke back, which I know I was excited for that version of Deathstroke because Joe I can never pronounce his last name. I always remember him from How I Met Your Mother, just two dudes getting brunch. Um,
Oh, right, yeah.
he's going to be back as well. So interested to see how his Joker comes into play. I know that a lot got cut out. I hated the tattoos. It was all so fucking stupid.
It
So
almost seemed like it was trying too hard to have it be his own
yeah,
unique Joker.
like I get it.
I don't
Everybody
know.
has a take, and Heath Ledger set the bar. Um, but like, dude,
Yeah, but
just
what's his Jaquan Phoenix did great
yeah.
with
I
being
mean,
Joker. It's like
exactly.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just
We'll
felt like
see.
yeah, it was too much. Yeah, yeah. But
I
I mean,
I
I think they're also pairing them with Harley Quinn in that movie they were trying to
I
do. But I
think
don't know.
that what they're probably gonna end up doing is trying to set up like a Harley and Joker movie at some point, or the Gotham
He
City
just broke her heart.
Sirens. Well, yeah, I think what they're gonna do is have like the Gotham City Sirens. So you'll have Poison Ivy, you'll have Harley Quinn, and whoever else. And I feel like Joker, if they eventually ever make this movie, because I know Margot Robbie has really wanted to, um, it's Joker trying to go after her and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. Who knows? What We have more DC news. Shazam 2, like I mentioned, is going to be filming. They're looking for three sisters. They're going to be villains, as allegedly. We don't know too much, but what word has gotten out is that one sister is going to be 17, who they have Zendaya as like their model for that. You're going to have an adult who they think Eva Green, who was in a bunch of movies. I like Eva Green. She was in James Bond. She was in a bunch of movies. I always like her as an actress. She's always played someone creepy pretty well. And then Helen Mirren
Oh,
is rumored to possibly like the old version, like an old woman part of the sisters. And they're supposed to be production starting in spring. They're just looking there. So Shazam 1 was good. And I think Shazam 2 is going to introduce more of us into Black Adam, hopefully, because eventually they'll fight. So
nice. I was just looking her up. Yeah, she looks very familiar. She's in a bunch of stuff.
yeah, I can't remember.
Eva Green.
Eva Green's in a ton. She was in
She's in
300,
Sin City.
Sin City, 300. She was in that one where she runs at school.
Oh,
Miss
Miss
Perrin.
Peregrine's Home for Peculiar
Yes,
Children.
I didn't
Dark
care for that
Shadows.
movie, but Dark Shadows was decent. That's with Johnny Depp, where he's like the vampire
Yeah,
and she's the evil vampire. That was a good movie. But yeah,
yeah.
she's always good in everything she's in. So it'd be pretty cool to see her play some sort of creepy sister, I guess. But it's all rumors. We don't know.
She does creepy good,
Yes, yes, she does. I think it's because she's probably so pale. That's why pale people tend to
but
be
she's
creepy.
still like attractive too, so it
Yeah.
works well.
Um, Aside from that, there was an article that came out this week. Mark Ruffalo was talking kind of about Kevin Feige and how he was ready to leave Marvel if they refused to have any sort of diversity. So back in 2012, he was really kind of clamoring about like, hey, if you don't see me on set tomorrow, this is why. And Ike Perlmutter, however you pronounce it, he's the former CEO and he's the current chairman of Marvel Entertainment. Well, he didn't believe that anybody would go for a female starring superhero movie or any sort of like
So it's
LGBTQ characters.
1912.
Well, you get these old white dudes in charge of things, and they're very much like, you know, they're set in their ways, which is so stupid. Come on. Clearly, it doesn't matter. There's a market for it, and there always will be. And it's nice to have diversity. You need to have diversity, and it means a lot to the kids, whether you're any sort of like ethnicity or a male, female, gay, straight kind of thing. Like, it's nice to see that representation. Well, Kevin Feige was like, hey, this is the future of Marvel. Um, I want, these LGBTQ characters, superheroes. I want, black superheroes. I want woman superheroes. And basically, if he didn't fight for that, we would have never had movies like Black Widow coming
I
out, and
was gonna say Black Panther.
or Black Panther. And Kevin Feige was about to leave. He said straight up, like, I'm going to leave if I
Hmm.
don't get to have this. And now look at what it's done. I mean, the guy knows his stuff, but imagine a universe where he does leave and then he goes to DC and then
Oh
builds that
God.
DC universe, and we never get the Marvel things that we got today. So Kevin Feige is
Mm.
always doing great things and paving the way. And it's really nice to see, again, because just having, as a kid, you look up to a lot of these characters, and you think, hey, they look like me, so I can be a superhero. So shout out to
Well,
Kevin
even just
Feige.
every different character of ethnicity, sex, sexual orientation, like they bring something different to it, and I always like enjoy just seeing the especially growing up in the States and in South Florida. It's
Yeah.
like you're used to seeing a diverse group. And so I don't know, I feel like it almost makes it more believable than just having a bunch of white dudes.
Well, yeah, you get a bunch of like
But
generic.
we don't
It's
really
like
have any
watching The
gay characters,
Bachelor.
so
You're
yeah, I've
watching,
never watched The Bachelor.
well,
Sorry.
they're all generic white dudes for the most part. So it's like watching
That
The
doesn't
Bachelor
surprise me.
superheroes.
Oh
And second of all,
God.
how dare you? The Bachelor is awful television. Everyone should not watch, but I've watched more than my fair share.
We were watching SNL last night, and I'm like, I never feel like the Bachelor scenes are funny. Maybe because I've never seen the show. Although the one with Adele last night was actually pretty decent.
Oh, I did see. I
Um,
don't even watch the Saturday Night Live anymore. I'll be honest.
I really mainly watch it around election times. It's the only good thing that comes out
Mm,
of an election
oh, thank
season.
God we are like a week away from this shit being over,
Yeah,
or we get
let's
another
not
four
even go
years of
there.
pain, suffering, and misery. So nothing ends. I don't know.
uh, Neither
Side
one's.
note,
Yeah,
I just want to
it's
point out
yeah.
it's
Okay,
actually snowing. It is snowing right now. I'm looking out my window and we have snowflakes. Hell yeah.
that's weird.
I need it to calm down for another week because as soon as I
See,
see snow, I'm going to become a Santa slut. So pump the brakes. I'm still in
so it's
Halloween
84
mode.
degrees and sunny out my window.
Nope. It is
Jesus,
snowing and in wonderful Idaho. I fucking
that's insane.
God, I love
Okay,
snow.
um, but okay, so we don't really have though any gay characters in the MCU. We had the
Um,
one Russo brother in the
yeah, that
therapy
was.
session in Endgame, but they haven't really introduced anybody. I can't think of anybody at least.
I can't think of
So
anybody
does that mean
yet.
maybe we're going to get some of those? Because I know in the comic books they have some, but I mean, 10% of your characters should be gay if 10%
Well,
of the population is. If you
I
want to do an
th-
adequate representation,
I think there was rumors that Valkyrie that she was supposed to be playing. She's kind of like the first big, gay character, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Other than that, yeah, like the
well, they
Russo
haven't touched
brother.
on her sexuality at all.
No, I just remember there was rumors, things like that. And then of course, yeah, we do have the Russo brother, his small snippet there. So I think I want to say in phase 4, they're going to introduce some more of those characters, which, I'm cool with it. If
That's
it fits
good.
the story, I'm cool with I don't care. I just love to see superheroes. And so it
Right.
doesn't matter as long as it makes sense for what's going on and we're not just like doing it for the sake of doing it. And that kind of ruins,
Oh
both
yeah, you don't
sides.
want the whole storyline, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So
No,
I'm
you still
excited
want to
for it.
move forward with the actual story.
What
Very
you
good.
got any other news? I see that, you talking about the boys
All right.
spin-off and there's a couple things you got coming up.
Yeah. So they are doing a The Boys spinoff. So if you read the comics and you've been introduced to the G-Men, which is clearly making fun of X-Men, and it's like a superhero college that's going to be run by Vout International. So that's what the TV show is. But in the comic, Huey actually at one point goes undercover into the G-Men, and they're like frat brothers. It's like they're literally just partying and getting drunk all the time, and but they're making millions of dollars because they're the G-Men. Um, they haven't started filming or anything. I think they're still putting together scripts, but it has been like greenlit or whatever the Hollywood jargon is. But that should be fun. It's and
Yeah, I
their
mean,
Xavier is actually like a creepy kidnapper guy. So he actually kidnaps some of these kids and then turns them into superheroes. So it's clearly also making fun of Xavier. So that'll be fun.
yeah.
Um, Mallrats 2 started filming, or it's
Oh,
going to start
yes, it's
filming in
starting to film.
2021. It's
Yes.
Twilight of the Mallrats.
God,
So that's all the
I'm
information I
here.
have on that so far, but
I'll
that'll be
have plenty
awesome.
of information. I listen to, all the Fat Man on Batman. I love Kevin Smith. He's just such a cool, good dude. He's such a nice-hearted man. So I love anything. I know he gets a lot of hate, but I am absolutely here for any movie that he comes out with.
I don't know why he gets a lot of hate. I love him. I think he's
It's
awesome.
because he makes
Um,
movies he wants to make, I feel like, and he just talks a lot, and people just love to hate on something, I guess. And his movies aren't anything groundbreaking, but they're still entertaining about a bunch of stoners, I guess. And I don't know.
well, they're dick and fart jokes,
It's
and they
true.
make fun of themselves on that. But I'm sure a lot of people who are listening probably do know this, but in Captain Marvel, Stan Lee, who's in Mallrats, is actually reading the script for Mallrats because that movie takes place in the
Oh
90s.
yeah, that's
So
right.
Mallrats actually exists in the MCU universe. So I
Oh,
don't know.
that. Oh yeah, he was talking about how he's in the MC. Yeah, I do recall that he was talking about this. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. And then Chippendale Rescue Rangers was supposed to be released in theaters as a live action movie. Well, it's now going to go straight to Disney Plus, and it's going to be half animated and half live action. It's supposed to be
Ugh.
like an origin story. I don't really know how that's going to work. There's no release date yet, but they have also mentioned that they are doing a Lilo and Stitch live action and a Robin Hood live action that will go to Disney Plus. But they're saying the Robin Hood's going to be based on the 1973 cartoon.
Where
So are
he's a
we going to
fox,
have
right?
people dressed as animals? Yes.
It's
Robin
just
Hood is a fox.
they go to a furry convention and just film.
I don't know how they're going to do that, but I thought that was interesting, worth mentioning.
No,
This piece
God,
isn't really news, but if you like the gooder running sunglasses, they have Batman and now Wonder Woman sunglasses, and they're
never
pretty
heard of
cute.
this before.
Gooder sunglasses?
I have no
Because
idea.
they're great for running because they like cling to your head, and so when you start to sweat, they don't slip.
Is it like what A Train
So I
wears?
actually no, they look like regular sunglasses. I wear them like when I go paddleboarding and stuff too, so I know they're like secure on my head.
Yeah, I
But I
saw
have
you
ones that
looking to
have
make
little
a "you
gears
wear
on them.
glasses" joke. I saw it. You
Well, I
you
was
wear
gonna say you wear
glasses.
glasses, so you probably don't wear like
You know,
my daughter doesn't
you'd
wear
be
them.
100%
She has
correct.
transitions. I'm
I
wearing
don't
glasses right now.
I don't wear
They're reading
sunglasses, period.
glasses, but oh, I have to wear sunglasses. I'm blind in the sun. But yeah, so they're really cute. If you need some superhero running sunglasses, those are the
Could-
ones for you.
I would just like to talk real quick about the need to make every animated movie we loved growing up into a live action film that should never be
It
touched
is,
in the first place.
yeah, it's getting out of control.
Like, why does Lilo and Stitch that it's still not even the body's not even cold on the Lilo and Stitch movies.
It's
You gotta
almost, it's 18 years old.
all right. Let's pump the brakes there. I'm gonna start having a midlife crisis mid show, but I don't understand why that needs a live action Robin Hood. Okay, we've seen many Robin Hoods. I don't really know how you're going to do a live action if you're doing the Fox version
Yeah, I
because
don't know either.
that's
Maybe they're just going to
weird.
be following that specific story of Robin Hood. I really don't know. But like I was,
Chippendales too. Like, no,
but I
no.
was telling my daughter the other day, like they do this because they already have an audience for it. So they're guaranteed a certain amount of people to watch it because it's like, I love
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, I'll watch it. Although my daughter wouldn't watch Lion King. She said the animation was unsettling.
I have never
And she
seen that. I
walked out of
haven't
the
seen The
room.
Lion King yet either for that same reason. It's like we don't need it. Apparently, they are going to be making a prequel for The Lion King on how Mufasa came to power.
Yes,
Allegedly,
this was on our last episode.
yeah. No, God, please make it stop. Just make it stop, Disney. All
Make
right,
it
please
stop.
come up with some
The
original ideas.
the Lion King, the you can't even call it live action because it's not like they had another name for it because it's not actually live action. But
Mistake.
the one guy from Parks and Rec that like yells, and then Seth Rogen were Timon and Pumbaa, and so there were they changed a little few things, and they were my favorite. That was, I mean, I love the original characters. Don't get me wrong, but it was funny when like Pumbaa makes a comment like, "And nobody was there for me," and then Timon's like, "I was always there for you. I resent that." So it was funny to see like an updated dynamic with them. But for the most part, yeah, these movies are following the main storyline. But
It's
like I said, I
just
think they're just doing it because
rehashed.
they're guaranteed to make a certain amount of money. Although I never saw Lady and the Tramp. I heard it was terrible.
I
All
forgot
right.
that they made a live action Lady and the Tramp. As everybody should
Yeah,
forget these
it's
live action movies. Just stop it. Just stop it.
well, it was the first movie I think that they released straight to Disney Plus after Disney Plus or
Oh yeah, I think you're
opened
right.
or started. So we
Trash.
never got around to yeah, it was trash. I'm
Trash.
trash. All right, so my last thing is Walking Dead. Where did I do that? Because I had that on the reading one. Here we go. So I did catch up on season 10. So there was actually the episode I recently watched that debuted October 4th was supposed to come out months ago and didn't. So they were like one episode left to like conclude this section or whatever, and then
Right.
they had to stop filming. So there's still 6 episodes left of season 10 that won't come out till next year. But I had kind of given up on it. I wasn't as far behind as I thought, but I wasn't loving it. But I finished the comic, and the comic ended so beautifully. I absolutely loved how they ended the comic. So I was like, well, I'm going to give it a chance, especially because when the Rick Grimes movie comes out, which apparently it's going to be a trilogy, it's not one
What
Rick Grimes
the
movie.
hell? We
They're going to
just
do through three, and they have confirmed that Michonne will be in it. They're creating a whole Walking Dead
we just
universe.
need to squeeze it dry. It's gonna look like
Yeah,
fucking
it's all they
raisins
have
when they're
left now.
done.
But I really actually enjoyed these last few seasons, and they've introduced, they're getting more into the comics because they they're following more of that storyline. So I really
Yeah.
loved the Whisperer Wars stuff. And there were certain things I'm like, okay, are they going to follow the comics? Are they going to do their own thing? So there were certain things I was like waiting for and anticipating. And then we got a new character in the show, Princess,
Right.
which she's from the comics. So as soon as I saw her, she's a very flashy character. So I knew who she was right away. I didn't love her in the comics, but it was kind of nice to see a new comic book face. And then we got a glimpse of the Commonwealth, which the Commonwealth, I remember when I got that comic book at the shop, I was like, this looks like stormtroopers. And they're like, yeah, I know.
Right.
So this new community has like guards that look like stormtroopers. But they can actually hit
Interesting.
zombies. They don't just miss all of them. So I actually did enjoy it. I will finish out that show. I'm way behind on Fear, but they are still making Fear. And Lenny, is it Lenny James Morgan? He's
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Fear
yeah.
now, so he crossed over. And they just started a show called World Beyond. I watched the first two episodes. Not a fan. Probably won't watch anymore unless I hear it gets really good. So there's a community in Nebraska that I guess managed to thrive after the apocalypse started, because you realize we're 10 years into the apocalypse now, because they did it, a flash forward, and so now we're actually the show debuted 10 years ago this Halloween.
Right.
So they start and the show starts in current days 2020, and it's like these kids who were young when shit hit the fan, and they've grown up in this secure, safe community and don't really know what it's like living outside the walls. And but then they decide they're going to go on this mission, and I'm not going to say too much for anybody who wants to watch it, but it's just like they're naive teenagers, and it's like they can't even kill like one walker. But I'm sure they'll find something and they'll get their own, and it'll be
Right.
whatever. And in 2023, Carol and Daryl are getting their own spinoff, which that makes me think like, well, I know they're good for the last season and a half. So that is the
Oh,
whole Walking Dead universe now. So we have the regular show, which
such
is
a
almost
headache.
over. We have Fear. We have World Beyond. We're gonna have Carol and Daryl show, and we're gonna have 3 Rick Grimes movies. But people are clearly still. Everybody I talk to is like, "Oh, I gave up on that show," but they're still making shows. So clearly, a lot of people are watching them,
Well, that
and
is
that's
they're
kind of.
just getting anything and everything they can because they know it's the end. So let's squeeze it for every last drop that we got
But it's not
because
the end if they're starting all these new things and shows. And like, I didn't realize that Rick Grimes movie was going to be 3. Um, but that's why I wanted to give it a chance, because everyone's kind of like, oh, I've given up, and they have all these other things coming out. And honestly, if the comic book hadn't ended so well, I feel like I would feel different. But a lot of the stuff that happened in the comic book, those people are dead because they switch up who dies. But then they
mm,
also will be like, oh, well, this character's doing this story because this person died. Like Abraham and Rick were actually supposed to be closer in they're
right.
close in the comic, but because they had Daryl, Abraham never got as close to Rick. But then they'll have like, oh, the storyline was supposed to be Carl, but they ended up doing it with Henry. So they do that a lot. So I'm wondering who will portray some of these characters if they follow the comic book. But
That's yeah. I don't know. Who
we
knows?
shall see. I'll keep you
Let's not.
updated
I
since you're
won't
not going to
see.
watch it. So
Yeah.
our main topic, after my drunken nightmare rant last week, I'm going to let you take the wheel here because one, I took up all last week, and two, you're a big horror movie fan, and I just dabble in horror movies in October. So
Well, honestly, if there's like a job that I can do, it'd be doing special effects for like horror movies, or just even I've been working on writing a horror movie with a friend of mine for the longest time. It'll probably never see the light of day or be anything, but it's been fun. So I love anything about horror movies. So I love your slasher movies. I love your cheesy horror movies. The only thing I don't really like is the gore porn kind of deals.
oh
Um,
yeah.
that there's just they slat like Hostel, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I didn't mind the movie Hostel, but at the same time, like I just it doesn't do it for me. I don't like seeing there's no need for just useless sex,
And that's
boobs, and
like torture. We read the
torture
description on
porn.
that last
Yeah.
night. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to watch, because we were on Hulu scouring. I was doing research late last night.
Right. I don't
But my
enjoy
husband's
movies
like, what
like
about
that.
this one?
I like, when there's actual I not to say I don't even care necessarily about the plot because I love like your Freddy, Jason, all those movies, and the plot in those movies are so god awful. Um so yeah, I love all kind my favorite ones are like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, The Strangers, The Exorcist, and then the OG zombie movie Night of the Living Dead. Those
Like the
are
cliche kind of stuff.
yeah,
That's
I
it's
love
more
those
fun than
movies.
scary.
And I watch any horror movie, like I said, but I just I didn't really get into like the Conjuring movies and things like that. To me, those movies weren't very good. I know James Wan, Aquaman director, he did those movies. I just never really got Annabelle, those doll movies. Didn't really care about those either.
Isn't that
I
one
heard
based on a real doll? I think she's in a museum in the Keys or something.
supposedly I never got into it. I didn't think they were frightening. Hereditary, that's supposed to be a good one. I haven't seen that yet. And then there's a couple like Midsummer. It's supposed to be like kind of like a thriller horror in a way, where they go to like this cult out in the middle of Sweden or something. I haven't seen that yet either, but it's supposed to be good. And then you have like your shitty, god awful, The Happening, where they're being chased by the fucking trees and wind. That movie sucked. The Village by M.
Trees
Night
and wind.
Shyamalan. Yeah, The Happenings with Mark Wahlberg, Zoe Deschanel. It's a M. Night Shyamalan movie. He doesn't really know
Oh.
how to do horror movies or any movie really because he
We
sucks.
did Sixth Sense really well though. That's a
Sixth
great
Sense was
one.
great. So Sixth Sense was great. Signs I thought was great. The
Oh,
Village, I didn't like the
I
movie The
was
Village. That movie, I mean, I
well, I
was
heard the twist for that, which I won't say on here if anybody wants to, but once I heard the twist, I was like, I'm good.
yeah. See, I enjoyed the movie up until the twist for The Village, and then The Happening, where like the
That's what
trees
I've
are getting
heard.
revenge on people, and so if you breathe in the wind or something, you die or they'll kill yourself, and it was stupid. Um,
Huh.
Movies like Psycho. I love movies like Psycho. So anything like that. I like a lot of movies that also make you think. They're more than
Yes.
just like scaring you on cheap scares, but they also kind of make you think, and it's a movie you're thinking about after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of rank my slasher movies how I feel. So Halloween to me is like the best slasher movie out there because they don't do a lot of those cheesy like the I would say they don't do a lot of those cheap scares, but if you watch like Halloween Resurrection or things like that, they kind of did, which they retconned Halloween. So it was, it kind of shows. So the original Halloween movie shows that you can make a suspenseful slasher movie without all the gore and useless sex that we've
Mm-hmm.
seen in like your Nightmare on Elm Street. Um, they've used William Shatner's mask from a Halloween store. They just like bleached it out because it was $2, and they made this movie for dirt cheap. And so that's kind of what the mask
Really?
is. It's like William Shat. They had like
That's
two different
William
masks, but that is
Shatner?
William Shatner's face is what they used for the Halloween mask, and they
Oh,
bleached it out
that's
because it was like $2 from a
hilarious.
Halloween store. Um,
Oh
so
my
the first one
gosh.
came out in 1979. That's actually Jamie Lee Curtis's first movie ever that she's in. Um, she's a
Wow.
babysitter and Michael Myers gets out, and it spurred like all your sequels. So you have like Halloween 2, Halloween 3, um, The Curse of Michael Myers, which Paul Rudd is actually in. Um,
Huh.
there's like Halloween H2O, which takes place 20 years after, and
Is that the one where they have to sleep in his childhood house or something and they show that he
that's
was
Resurrection.
abused?
So Halloween
Oh, okay.
Resurrection has Busta Rhymes. There's like trick or treat, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
I enjoy them, but they kind of got out of control in that, Jamie Lee Curtis was his sister and he's going after her on purpose. Like, and then you have the Rob Zombie ones where he made that just kind of got rid of all that as well. Once again, like his sister is some girl or whatever, and then he's going to find her. And those movies sucked. To be honest with you, didn't really care for Rob Zombie's version of Halloween. And then in 2018, Danny McBride, who is big in the comedic world, he's in Tropic
See him a
Thunder,
lot with
he's in
Seth Rogen.
Pineapple Express. Yeah, he wrote and then they made the new version of Halloween that we have seen, and that kind of retcons everything before. So we have Halloween 1, and then the sequel is the 2018 version where he gets loose after all these years. He's going to find Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis. She's basically waited for this all her life, and it's a really good movie. If you haven't seen that, it's
Okay. That's
fantastic.
the newest one?
Yep, the newest
So
one.
wait,
And
they're pretending nothing happened except the first movie?
yes,
Okay,
yes,
so I didn't know all these movies weren't connected. So they have basically
they
people's different versions.
were they all were, but they're all shitty, and like they all got too convoluted and too like supernatural, and they just basically Dan McBride, and they were like, nope, everything after number one never happened. So Halloween, you have Halloween, and then you have this takes place as a sequel all these years later, and it's really good.
Gotcha.
They're coming out with two more. One of them should have released on my birthday this year actually, and they moved it back to October
Next
15th.
Halloween.
Yeah, they moved it to next Halloween. So they're going to have two more somehow. I'm not going to spoil anything that happens in the Halloween movie. Um, but some fun facts about Halloween 1 is John Carpenter was the director. They takes place in Illinois, but they shot the whole thing in California. And what they did was they painted the leaves. They painted all the leaves you see blowing around is they painted them to look like fall. Um,
Right.
so
Oh,
imagine
that's
your
funny.
job is to paint the leaves for this movie, and um, so the score was completed in 3 days by Carpenter himself, and it's that iconic, like that everybody as soon as you hear it, you know it's from Halloween, whether you've seen the
Yeah.
movie or not. So that's just a little facts about Halloween. My second favorites are the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Those were the first horror movies I ever watched. Something about going to sleep and somebody getting you in your dreams is kind of freaky to me because you think when you're in your house, you're asleep, that's like your safe spot. Well, not so much. Um, and then there's a million Nightmare on Elm Street movies. They're all equally ridiculous. And Freddy Krueger he's like this child. He's a pedophile for lack of a better word. The parents they catch wind and they go and they
Oh.
kill him, and he gets like sent to hell, and he comes back and he haunts you in your dreams. The kids on Elm Street, he preys on them in their dreams, and the way to kill him is you pull him out of your dream, and then he's able to be killed, but it just recycles because you kill him and then like he goes away for a while and then he starts coming back again, and you forget about him, and he can't. The only way that he can actually be harmful is if you remember him. So as the kids start to have these dreams and start to remember him, that's where he gets his powers from. It's all supernaturally, but Johnny Depp's film debut was actually in the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Spoiler: he dies in a
I was gonna say, I think I thought I remember that.
yeah, he gets sucked into his bed, and it's like that blender where it gets shoots all up into the ceiling, things like that. So Johnny Depp was in that movie. It's actually based on events from refugees who died in their sleep after having nightmares. That's kind of where the idea for this movie got made.
Huh.
Apparently, I don't really know too much about that. And then the sweater, the classic dark red, dark green. They made that
Hmm.
because apparently the human eye has issues with those shades of red and green together, and so they made that sweater to kind of psychologically play with the audience for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not too sure about the science factor, but yeah. So the shades of the sweater kind of has messes with you, and then Freddy's actually based off of Wes Craven's childhood nightmares. He dreamed of somebody similar to this when he was a kid, and something that always stuck with him. So he went ahead and made Freddy Krueger out of it. And Robert Englund is most famously known for playing Freddy Krueger throughout all the movies up until they remade it in like 2009 or 2010. They remade A Nightmare on Elm Street trying to reboot it off the ground, and it just never took. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either, and they just kind of let it die after that. So we haven't seen those in a while. Next, we have Friday the 13th series, which these ones I don't mind, but they're very, very, very mindless. I don't know if you've ever seen Friday the 13th movies, but
I
they're
feel like a lot of these
very,
I've seen parts and clips, or I only remember parts and clips. I've
well, there's
seen more
so
of the
many of
Halloween
them.
ones because they're Halloween.
Right.
But yeah, there's so many of them. But the Friday the 13th one I always felt was sad. Like, wasn't he like teased or whatever? And he
So
drowned.
Friday the 13th, he drowns at, Camp Crystal Lake. And actually, what a lot of people don't remember is the very first Friday the 13th movie. It's his mom going around doing the killings. I would say spoiler alert, but this movie came out in like the 80s, so at some point you probably should have seen it by now. Yeah, his mom does the killings, and then everything after that, they've made so many. So you have like Jason Goes to Hell, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason X, where he's in fucking space, and it's like some
Oh yeah, I think
futuristic,
I
it's like
remember
time
seeing part of that
travel.
one. Yeah.
And fun fact, he
Crystal
actually
Space.
doesn't get his hockey mask until the third Friday the 13th, where one of the stupid teenagers has a hockey mask on. He's playing jokes. Well, he kills him. He's like, hey, this looks cool. Because he was deformed. And that's why the kids made fun of him, is he always was deformed. And in the second movie, he wears like this sack with eyes cut out over his head. And but those the movies, they're not bad, but they're so fucking cheesy and kind of dumb. And we actually had
Hmm.
2003, I watched it last night, is you had Freddy versus Jason, and you had Kelly Rowland in it, and there was a bunch of actors you kind of
It was like
recognize.
somebody from Dawson's Creek was in it.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
bunch. Those movies are just so stupid. Freddy, he he wants people to remember him again, and the way to do that is he wakes Jason up in his dreams and tells him to go to Elm Street and start killing everybody. And of course, it just Jason gets out of control. Freddy eventually gets pulled out of his dream, out of one of the people's dreams, and they start to fight and all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of ridiculous. But they're not bad overall. They also tried to reboot this, I want to say, in 2009. And that was the last time we saw Jason. And I want to say LeBron James, actually, he has a production company and they're trying to get the rights to, it's either this or Nightmare on Elm Street. But LeBron James is actually trying to do a reboot of one of these two series. He's been working on it for like 10 years now, but the creators, they don't want to let go of the property. So maybe eventually we'll
Huh.
see a reboot. I would like to see these movies kind of rebooted if they do them properly instead of just going for cheap thrills and cheap scares and shit like that. Because again, if you're just doing things cheaply, it's pretty crappy.
Right. It's
Um,
Friday the 13th he's going after.
yeah. So we also have next Scream. The Scream movies I like.
Those I've
They're
seen.
yeah, they're
And
good.
they
They're
always have a twist. You never know exactly who's going to be the killer.
right. They do have a twist to them, and but so there was four. They've made a fifth. They haven't come out with the fifth yet.
I was
Um,
going to say, how did I miss that one?
no, they have a fifth one. It kind of got pushed back, of course, due to whatever the hell's going on.
The name of the thing which shall not be spoken.
Yeah, so they have a fifth one, and the fourth one. So the first one, you have Sydney Prescott. Her mom gets killed, and it turns out, spoiler alert, her boyfriend.
I wouldn't say anything because some
Okay,
people
if you
a
haven't
thing
seen
that like
Scream
that's part
yet,
of the best.
you have Matthew Lillard's in
I
it.
mean, I know
You
it's
have
old, but
Courtney Cox is in it. You have
that's how her and Deputy Dewey
David
met and got
Arquette.
married.
Yes, David
Now they're
Arquette's in it.
divorced.
Yeah, they got divorced but apparently they're still friends or something like that. I don't know,
Well, they have
but
a kid together, so I hope so.
yeah. Well, I mean, they have a production company together, so they're still whatever. So
But yeah,
yeah,
that's how they met.
they're in every single one. She plays Gail Weathers. Courtney Cox does. She's like this big time reporter. Which in the third movie, if you've seen the third movie, her hair looks so fucking bad. It is
Oh my
awful.
god, with those bangs.
The bangs they have for her, it's just like
Ugh,
what the hell. But I've never found Ghostface, the whole Scream mask killer Ghostface, to be scary whatsoever because
it's more
I
goofy.
well, I feel like in these movies, whoever's in the costume is always getting their ass kicked in some form. Like they're getting
It's
beat
true.
up and stabbed. Like they're always constantly getting thrown downstairs or something. And it's like this isn't scary because you could easily probably take this whoever's in this, especially in the fourth one when one of the killers is definitely not strong enough to kill like a grown ass man. But I'll let people kind of watch
That's
that.
true. Yeah.
So the Scream
Yeah.
movies I've always liked for thrillers because they're very self-aware thriller, slasher movies where in this
Oh, you even
movie,
have what Jamie Kennedy's giving out the rules for. It's like, oh, if
yeah,
you have sex, if you're a virgin, you're more likely to survive, and
right.
that's what he's yeah. So
And that's
and
what
they
I've liked. They're
follow those
very
rules.
self-aware. Yeah, they are very
Hmm.
self-aware. And they even like, play off they're making Stab, the parody version of like the actual events that took place in this universe. So though that's why I've always kind of liked those. Now, my perhaps scariest horror movie of all time. I don't know. Have you seen The Exorcist at all?
Oh yeah, the
Oh my
original one.
god.
Yeah.
That movie,
Oh, and then I saw the one with Deb from Dexter. That was creepy.
yeah, so they've done a couple versions. However, the original Exorcist, it's something about it always freaks me out. Um like the makeup team for the little girl was excellent and she's just fucking creepy and terrifying beyond belief in my opinion. Anyways, it's
I
really
love that
old
people
school.
think that she like died, and she's like, "No, guys, I'm right here." Like she's done
Yeah.
interviews and stuff. She's
Well,
like, "I'm fine."
that's because there's a lot of curse. There's like a curse around the whole thing. So um it's a slow burn old school movie, but the house that they actually filmed in, it burned down, and the only room that was untouched was the bedroom where they
Ugh.
filmed like all the devil scenes. Two of the actors passed away right after filming. Everyone on set suffered some sort of loss or injury at some point. And then opening night, where the movie was actually played for the first time, across the street, there was a church that got struck by lightning as the film began to play. So, you know, it could be one of those things like coincidences. But it was actually the highest grossing horror movie of all time until it chapter one got remade,
Ugh.
which I liked that movie because I thought Andrew Skarsgård was really creepy and he played it perfectly.
I was
Um,
allowed to watch that movie way too young. So was my husband. We had lovely
bruh.
parents. Thanks, mom.
Well,
I
it
can't
the original
stand
It
that
with Tim
movie.
Curry never freaked me out, but the remake,
That's
I,
the one I watched when I was too
yeah.
young. I
Well,
didn't like the remake. Didn't scare me.
it didn't scare me, but I thought it was pretty good. Splitting it into two parts was a really good. But with The Exorcist as well, they had like people throwing up as they left theaters and things like that, and it's like this whole. I think a lot of the reason why it did so well is because everyone, the word of mouth, kind of like this movie's terrifying. I puked during it, or this, that, the
I
other.
puked.
So I love The Exorcist. That's one of those I always like to revisit. Um, have you seen The Strangers with
Mm,
Liv Tyler, and he's another, I can't remember his name. He's a big time actor as well. So they're married, coming back from a wedding. They stay at a cabin, one of like his friend's cabin or her brother, somebody like that, in the middle of the woods, and they're having marital problems. The creepy thing about this is there's no music throughout the entire. The only music that plays is on this like record player, but like the suspense is very organically built up, so you never hear music played throughout. There's no background noise. It's just there's
you
three
don't know when
people,
to be scared.
right? And there's three people that start to come through, and they start to like mess with them, and the whole reason behind it is because they were home. The only reason why they start messing with them is because they knocked on the door and they answered. And so it's really creepy, especially if you live in the middle of nowhere, to
Right.
somebody just randomly come up and start messing with you. And yeah, I
Do
thought
you know
it's a
what
great
if
movie.
that's on a streaming platform right now? Because that sounds like one I would
um
actually like.
I don't know if it's on a streaming platform. I owned it
Okay.
on DVD at one point, but it might be on like your Hulu or
Oh.
your Amazon or something. It used to be on Netflix, so you can even double check Netflix one last time, because they typically have a good horror lineup. They
Okay.
used to, anyways. Netflix used to have a pretty good horror lineup. Now it's all like B version movies and sequels and shit like that. Um,
Right. Well, now I want to watch the new Halloween and I want to watch that.
yeah, so I definitely
I got a
recommend the new
week left to do
Halloween.
it.
New Halloween and Strangers are two really good movies I recommend. Fuck Jeepers Creepers, number one. I'm gonna
Fuck it.
shout out. I
Yeah.
That movie scared the life out of me. I don't know why.
I
I have no idea.
hate that movie. And it was filmed an hour from my
It
house.
was,
Just
but
showing
I
off
I
my
like will
bus.
not drive at night in Nebraska or anything like that, because to me you're in the middle of the cornfield. They made three Jeepers Creepers. The third one I watched. It was
I didn't
shit,
even
of
know
course.
the third one.
The
I've been
second
told
one
I should
was,
watch it because it will make me feel better.
I mean, it will, because it's so campy and crappy, whereas the first one's like purely terrifying. The second one's kind of more campy and silly. It's not so scary. The third one's just, they jump the shark and it gets so ridiculous. But that movie's, I don't know what it is. The first one creeps me the hell out. Shout out to Justin Long. He played in that one. He was really good in that movie. Um, the song, I don't like the song either. I think it's because like he's sniffing their underwear and stuff. Like I don't even know how to explain it. It's so weird.
I don't
Um,
even know if I saw. I had my eyes closed for a lot of it.
yeah. Night of the Living Dead, like I said, this was back in the 60s, so it's predominantly black and white. It's like the first zombie movie. Um, it's really cheesy because in the 60s, how are you going to make a really good creepy zombie movie? But they did it. And it's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, I won't. It's kind of slower, but it's not a long movie at all. So I recommend it. The zombies are kind of more self-aware in the movie. They actually purposely attack people. So go out there. That one's on Amazon Prime. Uh, The Shining. The Shining by Stanley Kubrick, and starring Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall. That's another, people view it as a horror movie, which it is. It's a Stephen King. It's like the first Stephen King novel to get adapted into a film.
Oh,
I didn't mind the movie. I've always liked it, but to me, it's not like a Halloween movie. I guess it is, but it's not. I don't watch it
I
very
don't feel
often.
like it's as good as everybody made. I don't think it's that scary, honestly.
No, however, Shelley Duvall, who plays his wife in the movie, she was harassed relentlessly by Kubrick, and he never told her what was going on. Like Jack Nicholson chasing her with the bat, she didn't know that was planned. Like he to get authentic reactions, so he like really messed with her mentally, and she's still like really scarred for life from filming this movie. And she had a lot of mental
Wow.
problems, and she looks rough these days, but it's because she was fucked with so bad on this movie that you know I really feel bad for her because he was awful. But yeah, I don't think this movie's as good as people say. You can hate on me for it.
Jeez.
So
Oh,
then
and
we,
fun fact, the carpet in Sid's house from Toy Story is the same as the carpet in The Shining.
ooh,
So
um,
yeah.
I have a few more I can draw on all day, but there's like I want to hit
You
on
have
some
a
of the.
lot.
I do have a lot, so I wanted to hit on like the main ones people would know. So we have It. You know, it takes place. It's a Stephen King novel, very very long movie. The first one is with Tim Curry. Is actually like a TV series. They produced it. They remade it with a bunch of big time actors. Part one, part
Right.
two.
And they go
James
back and forth
McAvoy.
with the kids.
Right, a really good movie. Kid actors were knocked out of the park. James McAvoy, all them. Bill
Jonathan
Hader,
Brandis was in it.
yeah, they all did really well. Then you have Silence of the Lambs, Hello Clarice, you know, with Anthony
Oof.
Hopkins, Helen Hunt. Is it Helen Hunt? I get her. No, it's not
No,
Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt's Mad
I
About
get
You.
yeah, I get her and
There's Jodie
Jodie
Foster.
Foster. I always get them
Yeah.
confused for some reason. I don't know why. So they're in this movie. You know, Hannibal Lecter. He eats people. She's trying to solve a murder, and
And they have a TV show now that's like a prequel with Hannibal.
yes, they do. And he's like, I'm having an old friend for dinner, and he's eating this dude's brain. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
and then what's it? Which I always forget which ones are which because they even have Red Dragons, a prequel to it.
Oh,
And
they yeah. See, I never watched those.
what's the
Because
one
Edward
where
Norton was in that
Ray
one.
Liotta? He's like eating or he's feeding Ray Liotta his own
I
brain.
think that was the first or second. I think maybe it was the first one because she shows up to the dinner scene and yeah, he's eating his brain. And Mads Mikkelsen, he actually is in the Hannibal series, so he
Mm.
apparently is really good. I haven't seen it. Some more
I
Stephen
watched a
King.
few episodes recently. It was all right. It was
Yeah,
good.
I've heard great things. I just again TV shows. There's so many to watch out there that I just don't sit down to watch them all. Um, some more Stephen King. You have Carrie, which was I'm sorry, Carrie was Stephen King's first big adaptation. It wasn't. It wasn't.
The Shining.
The Shining. It was Carrie, and he sold it for like $2,500 or something like that. And
Wow.
fun fact, actually, is directors George Lucas and Brian. So Star Wars was casting for Star Wars at this time. So there was a joint audition between with George Lucas and the director of Carrie, Brian De Palma, and they both wanted the actors in each other's movies. So they had the joint audition, and Amy Irving was going for Princess Leia. Obviously, it went to Carrie Fisher, but yeah, I had no idea that they actually did a joint audition, and it's about
Hmm.
a girl with telepathic powers, and it kind of goes from there. Um,
Right. We've all seen that iconic scene. Was it Sissy
yeah,
Spacek? Is that who it is with the?
yes, that's exactly who it is, and she's got the blood all over her, and she kind of loses her mind there because she was picked on again. Her mom's like some
That's another one
religious
I haven't
nut.
seen.
It's a good movie, really good movie. They remade it with Chloe Grace Moretz, I believe, is who's the
Oh,
newer
okay.
version. That one was okay. I mean, it was a rehash of the original. So if you've seen one, you've seen the other. Um, then we have Poltergeist, which it's a family. Their house is on an Indian burial ground, and the classic. She's sitting in
Mm.
front of like the fuzzy television. She's
They're
like, "They're here."
here.
She gets sucked into the TV. Um, Also, four cast members died during or after filming of this, with to include the little girl. She had like cancer,
Oh
and
my
then she had like a
gosh.
she collapsed suddenly. She had a lot of heart problems, so she passed away like
Mm.
not very long after filming this. And Steven Spielberg used actual human skeletons on set of filming this movie. Um, but apparently, yeah, that's another movie that was really cursed, and people are always talking about how cursed it is. They made a couple of them. I've only seen the first one, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. Um, Lastly,
Mm.
one that I'm going to go kind of in depth with is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I refuse to watch that because it's based on real events.
Yes and no. So it's a really good
Can't do
movie.
it.
It's really creepy. Like the family's super fucked up, and obviously Leatherface has some issues. He's going around with the chainsaw. He wears people's faces. The one with Jessica Biel that they made in like 2000, that was a good one.
I
I
won't
like
watch
that.
it.
And then
Josh keeps trying to watch that. I said no.
no, apparently they remade it as well, or they made another one. I didn't see the latest one that they made. But the 1974 version, the intro, it was filmed really cheaply and it was almost documentary films like. Um,
Hmm.
so fun fact with the Texas heat and everything, like apparently the set was
Ugh.
miserable. So it was
I would say it
100
probably
plus degrees in the
stunk.
middle of summer. The actors, they like didn't wash their clothes at all because they wanted that
Ew.
authentic look and feeling. So then like the food for the dinner scene and stuff, it was rotting. So like a lot of the food was rotting. Like the animals caused like it smelled really bad on set. So like in between takes, they filmed the dinner scene in a single day. So like they filmed for 24 hours straight. And in between takes, the actors are throwing up because the smell is so bad because they had the
Ugh.
food out all day in the Texas heat. No AC in that
Right.
house, obviously. And so it was just a horrible. The poor guy. There's like three people who played Leatherface, but the main guy who was playing him, nobody on set would talk to him apparently until like after they died. So once they
Oh
died,
my
then they would talk to him.
gosh.
So like something about like feeling weird about it or authenticity. Yeah, they
You want to
wouldn't
have
talk
like
to
a
him.
disassociation with him.
Yeah, so the poor guy,
Interesting.
he just would be alone on set all the time, and you can actually have lunch at Leatherface's house. So it's in Williamson County in
Sounds
Texas,
lovely.
but it's no longer, it's now a cafe called the Grand Central Cafe. And so they don't really play anything off the movie, but obviously like you can go there and yeah, that's where they filmed the original one. And they've had a bunch of different um R. Lee Hermie, however you pronounce his name. He was in the Jessica Biel one where he played like the really, he's a sheriff, and the movies are good. They're really freaky.
But aren't
Um,
they based on some sort of like
yeah,
thing that
so
actually happened?
something like that. I vaguely know that it's based, it's not actually a true story, but there was like some sort of murders that were going on, and the director kind of knew some people, and so that's where he got the idea for the movie. Um, some other shout outs. So we have Dawn of the Dead, we have Candyman, we have Hellraiser. None of those movies I really cared about. You know, Pinhead, everyone's like, he's so terrifying. I don't care about those movies. Um, one you did watch last night was Chucky, the
I
remake.
watched the new one. I've actually never seen the old one, so
Uh,
I'm aware that like a serial killer possesses the doll's body.
yeah, so he hides out in a toy store and like he does some chant and he puts himself in the doll. And
Yeah. Okay, so that's more than
the
I even
movies,
knew.
they're not
But
scary. I would punt that fucking doll to the moon. First of all, like Chucky, that little thing comes after me, I'm punting it. Like if you die by that little 2 foot doll, then you're pathetic.
jeez,
Like
tell it
I,
how it is.
those movies to me,
But
I didn't really like the movies.
it was interesting though the new one how they basically it was just technology. Like the doll wasn't
Yeah,
evil. There's no it was he was just programmed. It was almost like Jessica Rabbit. I'm
and
not bad.
Mark
I'm just
Hamill
made
is
that way.
actually the voice of the Chucky doll in the
That's who
movie.
the voice
That's
was. I wanted to
so
look it
Mark
up.
Hamill is the voice, and you have Aubrey Plaza
Okay.
who plays
I
in it.
hear him now.
Yes, but it is. I do like that version where how they were like based off the technology and how that kind of thing. So that was cool to me. But
Yeah.
I don't really care for Chucky. It's not scary to me. He's just this little doll that you can
Oh,
easily
and
just.
that's why he wanted. Okay, that makes that one line. Sorry, that one line funnier because the little kid wanted to name the doll Han Solo,
Yeah.
and then Mark Hamill's like Chucky. Okay, that makes that scene a lot funnier
Yes.
now.
Mark Hamill. Yes, he was the voice. And of course, Mark Hamill does voice work so well. So I always loved his voice
Yeah.
work. So he was the best thing about that movie. But again, don't fucking care about
It
Chucky.
was terrible and it was cheesy. We also watched that mom and dad movie last night with
Oh, and
Nicolas Cage.
Nicholas Cage is
And
playing
so
himself.
yeah, well, my husband's like, "Oh, why don't you watch this one?" I bet he hasn't. Bet Mash hasn't seen that one.
I
Not many
have.
people have. And of course, yeah, I texted you last night. You're like, "Oh, I've seen." And I was like, "That movie was god awful." It was Selma Blair and Nicolas Cage. So I'm like, okay. And I even thought the same thing. I'm like, this is cliche Nicolas Cage.
Oh
But it's
yeah.
like, but the description says for 24 hours, parents are killing their children.
Something with the
But
TV. Yeah.
then there's. I felt like the movie didn't end. There was no conclusion.
They lock
I
them up
almost
basically, right? Like the kids lock
well,
the
I don't want to
parents
say
up.
too much in case anybody wants to watch this,
Oh
but
yeah, you're right. I'm
I
sorry.
felt like
Spoilers.
when it ended, it didn't feel like it was over.
Right. It just kind of is one of those like open ended, just randomly ended movies. I
Right.
agree. I have seen it. There's not many movies that I haven't seen. You'll come to find. So
But it was definitely one of those campy things. I will say, you don't see anybody killing any children. You don't see a single child
no, no, no,
actually
no, no,
die.
no. It's
So if
just
you're like, oh my God, how can you watch? Like, it's not like that at all.
it's pretty self-contained in that the kids are running away from Nicolas Cage and all that in the movie. So self-contained movie. I thought it was okay, but yeah, Nicolas Cage is 100% aware of what he's doing. He's just taking movies just to take movies anymore.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there were some funny parts, but then like you thought like things were shifting at the end, and then I felt like it just abruptly
yeah,
ended. So I don't know. It was
but
interesting.
finally, some more shout outs to the lighthearted Halloween movies. You got Hocus Pocus, which the plays on repeat. I love that movie. Um, then you have your Halloween Town from Disney, and your Nightmare Before Christmas, which you talked about last week. So you kind of got your lighthearted movies. Then you have the Evil Dead franchise with Bruce Campbell. I loved the TV show that they had for 2 seasons, and then they canceled it. So other than that, that wraps up our little horror rundown there. good,
So
lot of good
happy
movies to go ahead
Halloween.
and watch for Halloween, whether you do it this year or next year. Um, Next
So yeah,
week, we have a guest next week, Micah Bowers. I hope I said his name right. He's somebody who follows us on our main show, Hops News Hoppy Hours. He homebrews and he's really into like he does a lot of like comic book stuff and he loves X-Men. So we'll probably talk some X-Men next week. We'll talk a little homebrewing and to get ready for home brewing day, which is not this
I think it's
Saturday, but next
national. Yeah, I was gonna
Saturday.
say it's Homebrewing Day.
So we'll talk a little home brewing action with him, and I'm super excited. He's really excited to come on, and we'll share some beer and have our second guest ever. And not to
A
mention,
second.
we have The Mandalorian airs 2 days from when this comes out. We have The Mandalorian airing. So we'll probably talk a little Mandalorian in there. We'll probably dedicate a whole episode to discussing last season and then the first couple episodes of the new season, which there are a lot of big characters supposed to Ahsoka, Sabine. They're all supposed to be making this isn't a secret at this point. They're supposed to be making,
Right.
they are confirmed to be in it. And
Well, and I
can't
love all
wait.
the actors that are showing up too. Like even Jason Sudeikis was just like a stormtrooper because it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
these
yeah.
people that like grew up loving Star Wars and now they're famous. So they're like, hey, can you just get me in?
Well,
Bill
that's
Burr's
like
in one.
he is. Bill Burr was in. He's
Yeah.
supposedly going to make a comeback. He might be back in this season at some point. But you're right.
I
Like
need to rewatch
there's a
one.
lot of big name actors who are always playing cameos as stormtroopers. Like Daniel Craig was in The Force Awakens, and there's other like cameos throughout the Star Wars. So I can't wait. I'm excited for The Mandalorian. It feels like it's been forever, and we're finally getting some new TV shows with The Boys
Hasn't
ending,
even been
and
a year.
it hasn't. You're right, but other than that, you can catch us on Hops Geek News on the IG. Search Hops News on any platform you listen to podcasts, whether it's YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel. It's Hops News. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcast, Google Podcast. Search Hops
All your
News.
podcast
Yeah,
platforms.
you'll be able to find us there. Catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew Tyler. You can catch Hoppy at the Hoppy Mommy. And
Yep.
thank you. Subscribe, share with your friends, grow us, tell us what we did wrong, tell us what you like. And
Like us, love us, call us out, and we will
yes, we're
give you
not
a shout
perfect.
out and a
We're
cheers.
not experts. And if you know you got some questions that you'd like to hear answered, let us know. We always love answered questions. And
If
instead
you
of
want to
us
come
just
on and tell us how terrible we are
yeah,
and correct us.
if you ever want to come on as a guest host, hit us up again. So it's not just us rambling for an hour, hour and a half. And catch us Thursday nights, Hops News Hoppy Hour, where we talk with breweries as well. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.